Hello, my artists. Today we're going to learn how to make your own DIY t-shirt macrame wall hanging. So to get started, we need to cut our t-shirt up into strips. I'm going to be using special sewing scissors that are especially used for cutting fabric to cut my t-shirt today. However, if you have a sharp pair of scissors at home, that should work just fine. So I am starting off by cutting off the sleeve of this light blue t-shirt, and I'm going to be cutting about 1-inch strips, and I'm going to need 4 of those. We're going to do 4 1-inch strips of each color. Now that I'm done cutting and kind of stretching my blue strips, I'm going to go ahead and cut my white t-shirt. I've already cut off the sleeve of this one, and I'm going to cut 4 1-inch wide strips of this color. And finally, I'm going to be cutting up this teal Piggly Wiggly shirt. As you can see, my t-shirts, they're kind of old. They have some spots on them. They used to be painting shirts from a school that I taught art at before. So they do show a little bit of wear and tear. I would recommend using larger t-shirts. I just use ones that, were my size or, kids' larges. But the bigger the shirt you have, the more fabric you have to work with. So that's going to work in your favor when we actually start doing our macrame knots. Okay, so I have my t-shirt pieces laid out. Please make sure that you have 4 of each color or 4 strips in like 3 groups. 4 is going to be our magic number for the square knots we'll be doing later. But first we need to get the t-shirts onto our stick. Some people like to use a dowel rod, but I'm using this. So I'm going to put the loop on top, and I'm going to pull through those 2 ends, and then I'm going to kind of pull it nice and tight against the stick so it stays on and doesn't get wiggly. Alrighty, so I got it zoomed in, so I'm going to show you one more time before I start to speed it up. We're going to start with the loop at the top. We're just going to kind of place it on the piece of wood. Then I'm going to have the loop kind of come around our little branch or our little dowel rod, and then we're going to pull through those 2 little strings, and then we're going to kind of pull it tight against the wood. Now, with our other pieces of like t-shirt, we're going to kind of cinch it close to the knot before it. Also, if like the t-shirt is kind of sticking out funny, you can kind of fold it in and make it look nice and lay flat. So I'm going to continue that with our other colors, and I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video. Be sure to leave some space at the end of your stick or your dowel rod when starting your macrame. That way all of your knots are in the middle, and that it has a nice balance on either side. I decided to arrange my colors from lightest to darkest in the middle and then going back light again, but you can arrange your colors however you would like. So now we're going to get started on our square knot. we're gonna start by making a 4 going across the 2 middle t-shirt pieces. It is a little tricky, so give yourself a little time to learn it. I definitely didn't get it on my first try. So let's go ahead and try it again. So we're gonna make that 4, crossing those 2 t-shirt pieces, but we're leaving one out. That piece that we left out is going to go over the 4 and through the little triangle there. Then I'm going to use my fingers to kind of hold it. We're going to pull with our thumb and our forefinger. So you want to kind of pull it until it's nice and tight. Then we're going to do the same thing but backwards. We're going to go ahead and make a backwards 4. We're going to go ahead and make a backwards 4, leaving that one piece out. And then it's going to go around and through the triangle. And then we're going to hold and pull. So this is our square knot. I'm going to go ahead and show you again with our light blue pieces. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make that 4 going over those 2 middle pieces, leaving the one piece hang out. And then that one piece is going to go under and through the triangle. And then we're going to pull it all the way up, making sure to keep those middle parts from getting too tangled up and crossed. We're going to pull it nice and tight. And then we're going to do the backwards 4, leaving that piece out, going out and around. And then we're going to pull it up once again. So that is our square knot. We're going to do it all the way down the line. Fortunately, our colors are all going to match up. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the video and finish out this line. Now for the next row, we're going to leave out these 2 end strands. We're going to count 4 pieces, so we're going to have 2 white and 2 of our light blue. So we're going to do that square knot again, making that 4, taking that extra little piece and having it go under and through that triangle. We're going to pull them up. So as you make this square knot, you're going to kind of notice a triangle start to form. So this square knot is going to sit in the middle of the 2 square knots that you made in the first row. So we're going to go ahead and continue making our square knots all the way down on this row, but you're going to have 2 leftover strands on the other end because we left 2 off at the beginning, so we'll have 2 left over at the end. Okay, so now that we have that second row finished, we're gonna start back over on the left side, making that 4, taking that extra strand through, and making another row of square knots. So now this knot is going to be right below the first knot. So on this one, I would make sure that you don't pull too tight because then you're gonna just have it kind of be all wonky. So I would be a little bit more gentle pulling up that first loop, and then on the second one, pulling it a little bit tighter so it stays in place. So you're gonna see right above that square knot, you're gonna have an open little loop. So that is supposed to be there. And we're gonna continue down this row with square knots. All right, so on to the next row. We're gonna just be repeating those steps. I'm gonna be leaving out those two ends. I'm gonna be using the two white and the two light blue to make my square knot. We're gonna be repeating the square knots for a few more rows. If your t-shirt strands are getting a little bit short, you may not need to do as many rows as I am. I think I did about 3. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this video footage. That way we can just kind of get to the point where we're going to leave out more ends and create a V shape with our macrame knots. Okay, so it's right where I want it to be. I'm going to start making that V. So I'm going to leave out those 2 strands like we did before, but we are not going to come back to them. So I'm going to make sure that I have the 4 macrame strands. I think one got kind of caught up. So I'm going to have 2 white, 2 blue. I'm going to make my square knots and I'm going to have it go all the way across. But we will have those 2 leftover strands on the other side as well because it's kind of like a mirror image. But we're not going to come back to get those strands like we did before. Those are going to hang loose. Okay, so that row is finished. I'm going to go ahead and move aside our white strands, and we're going to be using just the light blue here to make our square knot. So as you can see, my t-shirt strips are getting a little short, so if you need to, you can kind of pull at them to stretch them a little bit, try to make them last a little bit longer. But I'm going to go ahead and make a square knot here. I'm going to move it all the way across that line, and I'm going to leave out all of the white strands on the other end just like I did on the left side. Okay, so you're probably starting to see our little V come together. This time I'm going to be using 2 of my light blue strands and 2 of my turquoise to make my square knot. So I'm probably going to do a couple square knots going across this row, but I am going to leave out those 2 strands of light blue on the other side, just like I did on the left. Okay, so this is my second to last row. I'm down to just a turquoise now, so I'm going to do my first little square knot here, and I'm going to do a second square knot on the little t-shirt strands right next to it. And then to finish it off, we're going to do 1 turquoise square knot in the middle, and then we will have the point of our V. So now I'm going to stretch it out a little bit because the knot tying has kind of squished some of the parts. So I'm going to stretch out the V, stretch it out wider so it isn't so scrunched together. And now it's time for the finishing touch. We're going to go ahead and take our scissors and we're going to trim those extra t-shirt strands. So I am trimming them to kind of run parallel to the V shape. So I'm going to kind of clear away as I cut, so it's easier for me to see which t-shirt strands still need to be trimmed, which ones are the right length. I would make sure that you're leaving it long enough that it looks balanced, but you know, short enough that it is kind of taking care of hiding maybe some of those shorter t-shirt strands that are in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the video so we can see the finished product. Alrighty guys, so that is how you make a t-shirt macrame wall hanging. I cannot wait to see what you guys create.